I was involved in kind of many different things. I was involved in some environmental activism. I was involved in the anti-apartheid movement a little bit. And when I say involved, that means mostly like just going to rallies, demonstrations, making phone calls, writing letters to the editor, whatever. I got real involved with a group called LASC, the Latin American Solidarity Committee. And at the time, in the early 80s, most governments in Central America were dictators supported by the United States, with a big exception of Nicaragua, which had had a revolution in '79, and the U.S. was mining the harbors of Nicaragua and arming the Contras, which is short for counter-revolutionaries, Contra-Revolucionarios, and they were arming the Contras to attack Nicaragua from Honduras and from Costa Rica, and it seemed really weird. Why are we attacking this country that's trying to feed their population and have literacy programs where most people had been illiterate, and yet we're arming the dictators that are keeping their people down. One day I was sitting at a LASC meeting where there would be like 60 or 70 people at the weekly meeting, and someone passed around a pamphlet that said that there was this international march for peace from Panama to Mexico. And I looked at it and I was like, I want to do that. And I was like, uh-oh, that means I'm going to have to miss the end of one semester and miss the beginning of the next semester and go to war zones. I was like, but somehow I was like, I want to go see these things that I've been involved in. And so I did that, and my parents were not happy with that. They weren't happy with me missing school. They weren't happy that I was going to march in war zones, but my parents, being really cool as they are, and they're like, we're not going to support this venture. And then they're like, okay, what do you need? And helped give me money towards it anyway. I was like, I can fundraise, but sure, if you want to make a donation, great. And so I went on this march. It was about 300 people from 30 different countries. We all got together in Panama City about 5 days or so before we were set to go, and it was really utter insane chaos. Like, this march had been planned by people from different countries and who speak different languages, and there was disagreement and disarray about what kind of decision-making process we had, who was going to decide things. There were crazy debates. And before we even got to Panama to start, someone had taken posters with the Peace March design, which was like a, some cutesy artsy thing with a dove, peace dove and stuff. They had taken that logo and put them all over Panama City with a hammer and sickle to say that we were communists supported by the Russians and that the KGB was leading this march. And this was before we even started. We were in the center of insane international Cold War turmoil. It was really intense. We got to the Peace March that I went on in Central America in winter of '85, '86 was mostly a peace bus. The word march is more metaphorical. We'd sometimes march for a few hours, but mostly we were being bussed from city to city or something, or farm to farm or wherever we went. And when we got to the border of Panama and Costa Rica, the Costa Rican government wouldn't let us in. And Costa Rica was officially a neutral country. They called themselves the Switzerland of Central America. They claimed they didn't have an army, but everyone knew, who knew what was going on, knew that Costa Rica was letting the Contras attack Nicaragua from there, and and they didn't want us, and they said, look, you're these KGB supported peace marchers, we don't need your communist trouble coming here to, we're a peaceful country, we don't know if we want you in. And we sat on the border in horrid conditions, not knowing what was going on, and our group of 300 people who were exhausted and hot in the tropics, and we didn't have sufficient clean drinking water, we didn't have bathrooms, so we had to make toilets out of cardboard boxes and plastic bags. It was disgusting. And there were cameras from media all around the world showing 300 people on a border not being let in. It was just a madhouse. I slept less then than I do at Idapalooza, at the music festival. I live at Ida. When I get completely drained here, helping host a music festival, I think back to those days on the Peace March when it was really hard to sleep because we had to figure out what to do. And eventually we got into Costa Rica, and with a lot of international pressure, we were bussed into San Jose and got in somewhere like 1 a.m. or something, and we were attacked immediately by a group called Movimiento de Costa Rica Libre, or Free Costa Rica Movement. And this was a group that was funded by the CIA, that one of the founding members of El Movimiento de Costa Rica Libre was, I can't remember his name, but he was the Minister of Security for the country. So it would be like the equivalent to me of like if the head of the FBI was a founding member of the Ku Klux Klan here. It was that insane. And this Minister of Security came out. Maybe his name was Benjamin Pisa, but if you include that on footage, we better look it up. We can Google it. He came out and he said that we had provoked violence and our visas were revoked and we had to leave the country first thing at daylight. And 12 Costa Ricans were hospitalized. One person was blinded in at least one eye. Because what happened was on this Peace March, in every country we had host groups who were different activist groups who wanted to host these internationalist peace marchers, and the Costa Ricans, when they attacked us with tear gas and rocks and bricks and stuff, and at a hostel where we were going to stay, and there was glass smashing everywhere, people being hit, people having a hard time breathing because we had no way out of this compound. And the Costa Rican host committee went and tried to form barriers with mattresses from the youth hostel to protect us, and 12 of them were hospitalized, one of whom, like I said, was blinded. And it was the scariest thing. This went on for hours. So we were bussed out of Costa Rica the next morning. Again, little or no sleep. We had a big argument about whether to stay or not, because some people were like, let's take a stand right here, right now. And it was a horrible debate. It was just hours and hours through the night of never knowing, are we about to be attacked again? What do we do? What's going on? Do we leave? Do we stay? And we agreed to leave because it seemed like if we didn't leave, we knew that the people that were most in jeopardy by us staying were the Costa Rican host committee. And as we left, as we were bussed out of San Jose, the Costa Rican government put police on our buses with machine guns to keep us in order. And we had people cheering for us who were sad we were leaving, and we had people attacking the buses as we drove out of San Jose, and we're putting like sleeping bags up against the windows because you don't want a rock coming through a window. It was completely insane. We drove hours and hours and hours, and people were like, can we stop and pee? And they said no. Can we stop for food? We don't have food. No. You've provoked violence. You must leave. And these soldiers would stop the bus, get out, buy food, stand by the buses and taunt us by eating and not letting us off to get food. And I kind of realized, like, wow, that's how a lot of people in Central America live all the fucking time. having people that have some means to get food and guns to protect themselves who are keeping people down, and this is being funded largely through U.S. tax dollars and through the actions of multinational corporations. That was kind of really the beginning of the end of being in college for me once I decided to make that commitment. I just felt like I got back to the States from the Peace March, and I had seen so many things, I just couldn't really be a good student. I couldn't focus on work because I felt like the university I went to was training me to be a corporate citizen, and the reality of the world needed something different and from me.